Preseason hockey, who's jacked? Which sounds like a silly question and like I'm being facetious, but I actually am jacked about preseason hockey, and if you're watching this video, you are too. And I usually don't do preseason LFRs, but you know what? I got the basement back, got all the stuff back up on the wall, got the walls back up on the wall. There's no water on the floor. Let's do it a little bit different. Leafs fan reaction for the playoffs. Nope, the preseason. Whoops. I haven't made the intro yet. Welcome one and all. If you're not aware, LFR stands for Leafs Fan Reaction. My name is Steve Dangle and I do a video after every single Leafs game once the regular season starts. This year I'm promising to do some preseason LFRs. I'm not going to promise you all. I'm not putting in the proper intro. I'm not putting on the Leafs jersey blue shirt. That's the best I can do because we're not there yet, right? It's the preseason. The players playing right now, some of them anyway, are fighting for the right to wear a Leafs jersey full time. Steve, the lighting looks, I know. The room is in preseason condition as well. I'm working on it. So usually we talk about the game, the recap, what it means for the rest of the season. Preseason's a little different though, isn't it? The games literally don't matter. They don't count in the standings. During the regular season, you can play a sloppy game, but at least if you pull off the win, fine. Preseason, you're looking for performance more than result. And performance isn't necessarily the same from player to player. Everyone, myself included, was excited to see John Tavares in a Leafs uniform, which still doesn't look real. But in the preseason, you can watch guys like him, legitimate superstars, and go, yeah, good, they're ready to play. What catches my eye more during the preseason is a guy fighting for a spot. Someone like Andreas Borgman, you know? Someone who surprises you. Who's this Emerson Clark fellow? So let's look at the game and the performances in it. First, I know it's been said about the Ottawa Senators heading into the season and the Leafs heading into the season, but what about last? This graphic from the broadcast? I did not know Mike Condon was that bad. Like I'm watching the first Tavares goal going, oh man, that's terrible, that poor minor league goalie. And then I see who it is, I'm like, oh, that's their NHL backup. Not good. McElhinney, on the other hand, a guy who a lot of Leaf fans talk about like he's the fourth best goalie in the organization, meanwhile he's the backup. Look at these numbers! He didn't play a lot, and the Leafs should maybe get a goalie who plays a little bit more, but holy smokes, was McElhinney good last season. You could almost do the Drake meme to the two images. No! Yeah! That's what Drake says. That's what he says in the picture. With regards to Curtis McElhinney, I think a lot of Leaf fans are talking about him losing his job, or it's his job to lose. I don't think it's that. I've said this on the podcast before. I think Curtis McElhinney's job last year is no longer available. It's not posted. If the Leafs are really into the sports science thing and not running Freddie Anderson into the ground, the goalie who starts 15 games a season position should be eliminated. The new position should maybe be goalie who starts 20, 25, plays in 30 games in a season. And for that, it's a three-way race between McElhinney, Garrett Sparks, and Calvin Pickard. And what sucks extra about being a goalie in the preseason is you have so few games to prove yourself, and you never know who's going to be playing in front of you. And I think you can be Curtis McElhinney and head into the game looking at the roster going, good, they got my back. Less than 30 seconds in, giveaway from Nazem Kadri. Kadri's got the puck behind the Leafs net. Both Leaf defenders, Dermott and Ozhiganov, are loaded up on the one side of the ice. And they're sort of marked. So what does Kadri do? I'm just gonna spin and fire it in front of my own net on the backhand. Well, I know it's a preseason game, but you're not playing against plugs now. He's stripped by Matt Duchene, good player, passes it to Ryan Dzingel, good player, and he fires it over Curtis McElhinney because he's a good player. I think the Sens are gonna catch a lot of teams off guard this year because even though people keep talking about how bad they're gonna be, and they sure do look bad on paper, they're not useless. Matt Duchene talked about Ryan Dzingel being a potential 30-goal man. I mean, if he's going to get opportunities like this, he just might be. All I will say is tut-tut, Naz, you should know way better than that, but if you're going to make a mistake like that, get it out of the way early. And 21 seconds into your preseason is pretty early. The good thing about that, if you're Babs, is you can go, well, it's a teaching moment. All right, everyone, you know what to do? Okay, you see that? Not that. Speaking of veterans screwing up, it was just funny to watch the highlights and listen to what the broadcasters had to say. Mark Borowiecki, or as I call him, Mark Borowicki, gets called for interference. And they talked about him with the big hit and setting the tone for this game. Well, I thought they set the tone when they overwhelmed the Leafs with speed, forced them to make a mistake, and scored a goal in the first 30 seconds. I could be wrong, but that hit seemed to put the Sens at a disadvantage. Sens are on the penalty kill. They try to clear the zone. They can't quite clear the zone. Mitch Marner finds John Tavares, as I'm sure he often will, and none of the Sens are looking because someone forgot to tell them that John Tavares is a Leaf! and he puts the Leafs up 1-0. Look at this Leaf fan getting all worked up about a preseason game. Sir, you're gonna retain water if you get any more salty. But welcome to preseason hockey. Two incredibly sloppy plays, one by Kadri, one by the entire Sens penalty kill, lead to each goal. And Michael Condon just sitting back there like, guys, what do you, I tried. Gotta set that tone. But that's John Tavares. If he didn't dominate in the preseason, I'd be worried. Then you got players who are on the bubble and need to prove themselves, some more than others. A guy like Travis Dermott, he's got to prove himself, but I would argue that it's his spot on the Leafs to lose. Andreas Borgman has got to prove himself, and he started with the Leafs, made them out of camp last year, but it's his spot to gain. He's got to get it back. He lost it, and wow, did he look good. He's a Gronk. He's one of the biggest players on the roster, but he's just beaming it down the middle. Marley hopeful Emerson Clark, he's streaking up the wing, throws it in front for a streaking Andreas Borgman, tips it in, and it's 2-1 Leafs. Borgman started the play in his own end and finished it with speed. Borgman and Zaitsev sort of remind me of each other, and a lot of you are probably going, no, that's a good thing. Because it's disheartening when you see a player and they got nothing. Nikita Zaitsev and Andreas Borgman are two players who I would argue definitely have NHL skills. They can skate, they can move the puck, their offensive instincts are pretty good. You just want to see them put it together and limit the mistakes and stuff like that. That's what the preseason is for, kind of honing. If Borgman puts it together, this guy's a player. And he has so much to prove because he got injured towards the end of last season, and then it was talked about that maybe he could have came back, but they just had him as sort of a healthy scratch. On the Marlies, I mean. But with his size, strength, and speed, holy smokes, could Borgman be a player. Great performance. I liked him with Justin Hall. And it's funny that those two were paired together because they're two guys who I think could actually contribute to the Leafs roster, but they might just not make it. Third period, scramble off the faceoff. Mitch Marner gets it, sends it to the point to Justin Hall. Puts it on, stopped by Holberg, but it's just sitting there in the crease. Pat Silov's just hanging on to Tavares in front, like, why did it have to be him? He's gonna sniff that out all day, bangs it in, 3-1 Leafs, Tavares' second goal. Mitch Marner looked good again, as you would expect him to. Justin Hall again contributed. And damn, Tavares lying there on the ice, like, he doesn't know how to not try hard. Like, John, it's a preseason game. We're not even in an NHL arena. Do you know where Lucan is? He does, and he calls it Game Time City, which is what he calls every city, because his name is John Tavares, and he is a Leaf. And so are Zach Hyman and Mitch Marner. That line looked good. It looked how you want one of your top two lines to look in the preseason. Dominant. Pat Silov was no match for John Tavares. Yeah, that's because he shouldn't be. A few minutes later, Tavares just steals the puck because he's John Tavares. Guess what? He's a Leaf, and guess what? He can just do that. He takes the puck, he gets stopped on the breakaway, follows the puck to the corner, and then passes it to Mitch Marner. Score! A little bit jacked. Yeah, I think Marner and Tavares might be good together. And even though it was a beautiful ping off the bar and in for Mitch Marner, a shot from that distance, nah. But again, for Holberg, next to no help. And that play starts by Tavares stripping Wolanin, who is probably going to make the Sens top 6. And I mean, you know what? It's great. The Leafs win the game 4-1. That's the final. But if any Sens fans are watching this and you're looking for like a little sweetener, I think it's better to get your ass kicked early in the preseason. Make your mistakes early and learn from them. You're trying to put together the best possible roster with whatever the heck you got left. You're going to want to cut guys loose who just can't hack it. Although seeing the smile on their faces after the early goal, I think this is a team that could use a confidence boost. And I think Leafs fans got that out of this game. They got the confidence boost. But you see Tavares, he's just like, yeah, okay. John, you scored a goal. Yeah, I'm supposed to. Yeah, you are. It's sick. The good news for the Leafs goalies in this battle was they were next to flawless. McElhinney stopped 12 of 13, and the only one he allowed was off a knucklehead play from a veteran who shouldn't have made it. And Garrett Sparks stopping all 22 shots that the Sens fired at him. And I don't know if you can read too much into how they were used. McElhinney started the game. Sometimes as the backup, you're going to have to start games. Sparks came in mid-game, and sometimes as a backup, you're going to have to come in mid-game. The good news is they stop pucks, which is literally their job. I really like the Borgman-Hall pairing. Hall had a good game. I was really impressed with Borgman. He gets me excited. Hall's one of those guys where I go, yeah, he can play. He can play. I like him, but Borgman gets me excited. Dermott was a -1. I definitely wouldn't read into that, especially based on the play that it happened on. What I am concerned with is he took an interference call, and as I just said in the prospect pyramid video, the guy takes too many calls. 34 penalty minutes in 28 games in the regular season in the AHL, 18 penalty minutes in 14 playoff games in the AHL, just 8 minutes in 37 games played in the NHL. That's great, but he was in a more sheltered role. It's just when he's on the defensive end of the puck, he's got to be a little bit more disciplined. But again, not going to yell and scream, just get it out of the way now. Trevor Moore, I wanted to see more out of. I thought he had a decent game. He's going to have a lot more than a decent decent preseason, though, to make this team. He's a real outsider. Justin Bourne posted a great video on his Twitter of Moore just making an apprehensive decision that caused a turnover. Ozhiganov, I'm going to reserve judgment on. We've barely seen the guy play. He hasn't really played on North American ice, and now he just did, and it was in Lucan, Ontario. And just on a final check of Twitter before I end the video, Travis Dermott is not on the ice because of a shoulder injury. That sucks. And that's also the preseason. Sens fans know that. Peugeot is going to be out like 6 months. The Habs just lost Nicolas Deslauriers for an indefinite amount of time because he broke a bone in his face. But it's one of those things where, while unfortunate, it's an opportunity for another player. The Penguins didn't win the Cup 2 years ago because they had exactly 6 defensemen who were good. They basically had their top 2 lines and Wilkes-Barre. And I think the Leafs have a lot more depth on defense than people give them credit for, especially on the left side. So to Travis Dermott, I hope he gets better soon. To the other players vying for that spot, you want it or not. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. A little bit more of a casual LFR. It is just a preseason anyway. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Just past 88,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Trying to hit that 100K. Tell all your friends. Brand new Panago Pizza Steve Dangle podcast posted with Coach Jeremy from How To Hockey. And I'll see you, I think tomorrow? Oh, I don't know. Maybe.